Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to visit with Mazanique Lachey. The name of her video is My Liposuction Experience. This video is tripping me out. I think you're going to love it.
So today I'm going to be sharing my liposuction journey with you guys and just basically telling you guys my story and just sharing my experience. I ended up meeting my doctor when I was about 20, 21 years old. His name was ringing bells in LA. And I just me and my mom just decided to go pay him a visit one day. So I did get to know him a little bit and, just kind of get comfortable with the place and get comfortable with him. So I would actually go see him once a year. So every year I would go see him once.
Did she say the doctor's name was Ringing Bells? That sounds a little bizarre, doesn't it? I'm assuming that's the name of the company where the doctor was working, right? I'm hoping that's the name of the company and not the name of the doctor.
Let him know that I'm still thinking about coming in here. So at 23, I actually didn't think I was going to have the money to do it either. It just kind of happened for me. It was kind of a birthday gift. I ended up building a very great relationship with my doctor, and I'm so thankful that I did that because it was like it put me at ease. Like I really trusted him putting me under anesthesia, because you do know that once you go get any type of surgery like that, per se, you are going to be under anesthesia. You're going to be put to sleep. Very important to just get to know your doctor, just so you can feel like you trust him a bit more. And I really, because my doctor really did his thing. Like it was like we had a personal relationship. You know what I mean? Like he really.
I hope the doctor wasn't the one that gave her this as a birthday gift, right? Hopefully, when she means relationship, she means professional relationship. Hopefully.
Really did a little bit more than what he would normally do for his patient. It really just kind of makes all your little curves pop out a little bit more, which I do love, because what woman wants to look like a little flat board? Like we all desire a bit of a curvaceous look. I was dealing with having the little kangaroo pouch. I don't have kids. I don't know why I had it. It was something genetic. My grandma did have it. My mother did have it. So it was, I don't know, it just stuck with me. No matter what I ate, trying to be on the healthier end, no matter how much I worked out, it just would not go away. So I did get an additional back, like my upper back up here. I got that removed as well. I got footage of some really good shit. The footage that I'm adding to this video is maybe not your cup of tea. If it looks too disgusting, please don't watch it. If it makes you want to throw up, don't watch it. Okay.
It's some pretty good shit. You guys ready? All right, let's do this. Buckle up, and if you're a little squeamish, turn away. And if you have any kids, make sure they're not watching, so don't distract them. Tell them there's some ice cream in the fridge.
Okay, I'm only doing this again because I want you guys to see what it's like. I want you guys to see, I want you to see. Like, I don't know, that's the point of me making the fucking video, so I just want you to fucking see. Okay guys, so they didn't allow me to record inside, so I did allow them to put my surgery up on their Snapchat.
That is gnarly. Oh my God, that is gnarly. I am probably going to blur this out so you guys don't see half of this.
This is it.
And that's it. She didn't want to do a fat transfer, so it's just going to be lipo today. Putting in the tumescent fluid right now, which is what.
Wouldn't it be dope if right in the background Skinny Bob popped out, right? Skinny Bob pops out and he's alive and well.
Starting to really look good. We've gotten a lot of fat off of her. She's very small, but I'm still getting a lot of fat off, so she should have a really good result.
That doctor jacked the shit out of her belly button. Holy moly, that just looked gnarly as heck. If you thought that was the grossest thing ever, let me know down in the comments.
Kind of cheated. Like I just jumped the gun and got the surgery, and then I took it upon myself to start eating healthy and working out. So I've been working out about 3 times a week, and I've been eating very healthy, because you don't want to waste that $6,000.
Number one, that is a $6,000 waste, Mazanique. You didn't even look like you needed it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't she say 15 pounds? That's something you guys can get rid of in 60 to 90 days. Holy moly, I don't think she needed that. With that being said, I'm glad that it went okay.
Us women get in those relationships, we start gaining all our little happy weight. I don't know why the fuck they call it happy weight, because I think that nigga be trying to get us fat on purpose. So I was like, oh, no, 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 no. So at that very moment, just imagine that kangaroo pouch plus happy weight. It just wasn't very appealing. Weight does tend to disfigure you. Whether you want to admit it or not, it does. Your face isn't as slim. Your clothes are not fitting the way they used to fit. Shit's just not adding up. It's just not looking right. That's actually the biggest I've ever gotten. Like, I literally gained probably like 15 pounds. So I was like, shit, I gotta get rid of this. Like, this isn't me. I'm too young to be looking like this. Everybody's body is different and everybody's hobbies are different. Like, I love clothes. I love shopping. Like, that is my fucking hobby. And I love for my clothes to look how I want them to look on me. Everything has to look right before I go out somewhere. Like, it just has to look right. If it does not look right, I'm not going. I'm not going. Even if I'm not showing my toes and my toes are not done, I'm not fucking going. And another thing I really hated was sucking in my stomach in every fucking photo. It was getting so annoying. I was just like, fuck no. This is not something I could be doing all my life. It's either the surgery or the surgery. So if you're anything like me, do what you do, sis. Do what you do. Who gives a fuck? I don't.
All right, so I think we can all agree she's young enough, she'll recover. It looks like she already has. This looks like one of those surgeries that's not too dangerous, but if you have more experience with this than I do and it is dangerous, let us know down in the comments. That looks like a nice way to get rid of 5, 10, 15 pounds overnight, right? The main thing is I wonder if there's any worst case scenarios. There probably is. Here's the good news if you really want to have a body like Mozambique's. If you're small like her and you need to lose 15 pounds like her, what I said earlier still stands. We could easily get that off of your body in 2 to 3 months, which will go just like that. With that being said, go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning, Venters. How are you? Happy Sunday. Sunday's always a fun day. You get to watch some NFL football. Some of you go to church. Either way, it's a nice family get-together type day, or maybe you're there by yourself just watching TV or reading a book. Either way, I hope you're having a nice Sunday. Enjoy your last day before we all go back to work. It's Saturday for me. I'm out here a little bit later than normal. It's 9 o'clock, but golly, the weather feels really nice. It is a tad warm, but there's a tiny little breeze, and it feels pleasant. Guys, I have a wonderful story that I want to share with you guys today. This is a picture of the Eternal Heart. This is a sculpture that was made in the Choctaw Nation because it represents a bond between, get this, the Choctaw tribes of America and the Irish people of Ireland. So in Oklahoma, where the Choctaw Nation reside, this knotted statue was erected to honor a bond between the Irish people and the Choctaw Indian people. Well, how the heck did they get a bond? So check this out. Over 170 years ago, the Irish were experiencing a horrible potato famine. And the Choctaw Indian tribe was able to round up their pennies, and they were able to actually send a donation to the Irish people, even though they were very impoverished and forced onto reservation lands themselves. They were still able to send $170 to the people of Ireland. Now, in today's money, that would equate to about $5,000, okay? Now, you might be thinking that doesn't sound like much, but keep in mind, this was a very impoverished Native American tribe. So the $170 when they were starving and poor and impoverished themselves was quite the feat. Unfortunately, the people in Ireland didn't even know about this donation until many, many years after the famine had ended. So in 1995, Mary Johnson, the then president of Ireland, came and visited the Choctaw Nation, and she also erected, well, actually, she didn't erect, she visited the nation and kind of spurred up the idea that, hey, these are two countries or two nations that are bonded together. And 9 years ago, they actually invited the leaders of the Choctaw tribe to Cork, Ireland, where they unveiled a statue of the Eternal Heart, or it was, I don't know if it was the Eternal Heart in Ireland, but they unveiled a statue, a silver statue that showed the bond between the two nations, right? So now fast forward, now the Eternal Heart sculpture has been done on the Choctaw Nation, and they invited the Irish to come down and take in the festivities and see the sculpture. And here that sculpture is. It's beautiful. And it shows a bond that no matter how miserable two nations might be going through, they can definitely still help each other. And there's something that we can take from that. We can take the idea that although we don't have much to give, a lot of times we still do have the ability to round up some spare clothes and give it to the poor. You have the ability to round up some spare change and save your change. And at the end of the month or at the end of the year, you can take it and you can give that to the less fortunate. There's a lot of things that we can do even when we think we can't. And no matter how miserable a situation we may find ourselves in, usually there's somebody out there that's going through an even tougher time. So a lot of times I like to complain and bitch and moan, but I know that I'm blessed because I have a lot of venters that I get to talk to every day. I have a nice neighborhood that I get to walk through every day, and I get to share my love for walking with you guys. So that doesn't really require too much money at all. And if you let people know when they're down on their luck that you've got their back, they might just reciprocate that for when you're down on your luck. And I just think it's wonderful that two nations that probably should have little or nothing to do with one another are now permanently bonded. So Choctaw Nation, to your ancestors from over 170 years ago, awesome job. That just goes to show you that your legacy can definitely outlive you. And the good things that you do in this world and the people that you influence in a positive way, that has a multiplicative effect. It can withstand the test of time. So I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful story. I almost forgot the most important part. What brought this full circle? Guys, in 2020, the Choctaw Nation was hit incredibly hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. The good people of Ireland, to repay for the goodness of the hearts of the Choctaw Nation from 170 years ago, in order to repay that, they ended up raising through GoFundMe over $2.7 million. And the Irish were ready and able to actually help out their Choctaw Nation brothers. A lot of times money can really, really help people. They say that when you're thinking about donating canned foods and stuff, that's a wonderful thing you can do, right? You can buy a $1 can of food and you can donate it. But they say that if you can donate cash, a lot of times with $5 or $6, they're actually able to come up with 30 or 40 cans of food. I don't know how that math works, but I've heard that a multiple of times, that when you give a can of food, it's one thing, but when you give money, usually they're able to create more than just what you could donate individually. I know that sounds weird, but again, that might be the propaganda we grow up with in this country. Hey, give a can of vegetables, it's worth 1 can. But if you give $1, it's worth 10 cans. Again, I don't know how that math happens. I think that's why we have so many scams in this country. Because we're taught on one hand, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But then when they tell you, hey, you can donate a can of vegetables and feed one person, or you can donate $1 and feed 10 people, it's just like, what a weird world. How strange is that? Guys, I don't know if you guys have heard of Bryce Young. Bryce Young is about my height, 5'9", maybe 5'10". And he was drafted #1 overall last year in the NFL by the Carolina Panthers. And this kid has been getting his butt kicked each and every week as their quarterback. He was a stud at Alabama, where he was a quarterback for the national champion Alabama Crimson Tide, right? So obviously he came with a lot of expectations, but he also came with a lot of limitations. When you're 5'9" or 5'10", that's a perfect height to get around in this world, right? You don't have to be 20 feet tall to survive in this world. But as an NFL quarterback, where the average quarterback is probably, 6'3" or 6'4", to be 7, 8, 9, 10 inches shorter and not be able to look over your offensive lineman's shoulder pads, that can be really difficult. You have to learn to throw in alleyways between linemen. You have to learn how to move in and out of the pocket. And there's just different challenges that a smaller quarterback has. I think one of the toughest challenges would be when you hit a quarterback that's huge, a 6'3" guy, you're hitting somebody that's built like a linebacker. When you're hitting somebody that's 5'9" or 5'10", you're hitting somebody that's got the body of a place kicker. So he has so many things going against him. And now that he's been benched, there's a chance that his mental health might not be the best, right? Now, why do I bring this up? This should have nothing to do with walking, but it does. In life, we might not be demoted from a quarterback position in the NFL, but we might get demoted in life itself. Some of us over the next X amount of months are probably going to get laid off. Some of us are going to find out that the job we have isn't all that we thought it was. And we might find ourselves in that spot like Bryce is, where our future is a little cloudy and uncertain. Now, in Bryce's case, he signed on a contract that probably paid him so much money right off the bat that he probably never has to worry about financial worries again. And in college, he probably made a couple $1,000,000 too. So he probably has no problems when it comes to money. But he's still dealing with a confidence issue, and that might be affecting a lot of us. So there's not much I can do if your job is getting ready to can you, right? But what we can do is we can use our walk, and we can jump into our think tank, and we can remember that not everybody is walking because they need to lose weight. Sometimes they're walking because they have the weight of the world on their shoulders. So what can we do for people like that? #1, we can empathize. We can put ourselves in their situations. We can recommend to those people that they contemplate something like taking a walk. Why? When you jump into your walk, you jump into your think tank, you can start to think clearly. The sun gets sent down to your body and you can feel it on your skin. There's an energy transformation that happens when you're just outside under the sun. When you're walking, it's very hard to think about things like food, which makes it really good if you're trying to have a diet and exercise-filled life, right? But it also becomes more and more difficult the more you get into walking. It becomes more and more difficult to feel negative about the walk. In other words, you might feel like shit 20 hours out of the day, but when you're taking your 1-hour walk, a lot of times you feel good. What you need to do is you need to put yourself in a situation where you can strategize when you're feeling good. So you don't want to feel like you're ready to grab a gun and shoot yourself. And you don't want to feel like you're ready to drive your car off a cliff or jump off of a 4-story building, right? You want to know that you can go, have your head in the right place, strategize, and come up with a plan. Now, with Bryce, there is nothing I can do that is going to make that guy taller. I mean, he could reach out to Ron DeSantis and borrow a pair of his high heel boots, right? But other than that, there's nothing I can do about a guy's height. By the way, I did see a video of a guy that went from 5 foot something to 6 foot because he actually had his legs broken and his legs extended. If any of you guys saw that crazy video, let me know. But anyway, although we can't help Bryce with how tall he is, we can help one another with the stresses that we might be dealing with at our job. Number one, there are certain stresses that have no influence on whether you're going to get hired or fired, right? Sometimes we just have a boss that annoys us. That's where it might be good at lunchtime to take a walk, not necessarily because you're super overweight and you need to add a extra credit walk at lunch. Sometimes you just need to get your head straight. And sometimes if you have a positive little 15 or 20-minute walk at lunch, that might be just what the doctor ordered to get you feeling better, okay? Sometimes during that walk and during other walks away from work, we can start to make a game plan. What do you mean, Jetchy? What kind of game plan? Well, if you know that there's a chance that your job has layoffs and that you're going to be a victim of those layoffs, that's when you can start to pull out your resume. Do you know how many people wait until they actually get let go to pull out and update their resume? Do it now, okay? Do it now. Update that resume. Get it up to par. If you're not computer or tech savvy, get one of your friends or family members that are, so that you can get to the point where you have your resume in a PDF, right? And that way you can easily start to put it up on Monster, put it up on Indeed, put it up on LinkedIn. When you do that, even if you're not applying for a job, a lot of times recruiters will start to reach out to you and at least give you some job opportunities, right? Another thing that we can do is we can start to look at our subscriptions and look at places where we're bleeding money. I heard somewhere that the average person has 3 or 4 subscriptions that they're paying for monthly or annually, and they've forgotten about it and don't even realize it. Go through a year's worth of your emails. If your emails are like mine and you have 1,000 of them just sitting there, go through and make sure that you don't have any subscriptions that you're wasting money on and not even using. Think about this when you're on your walk. Am I spending $5 to $15 a day at work on lunch? Could I start taking my lunch and saving that money? I have 2 or 3 cars. I'm spending insurance money and gas money on these cars, and I'm not using them. Is this maybe a time when it might be good to go ahead and put a for sale by owner plaque on your car? Let people in the neighborhood know that, hey, I've got a nice car here and I'm selling it. Jesse, what should I sell it for? Go to Kelley Blue Book, and if your car's in good shape, put on there that you want to sell it for, what the Blue Book value is as a good car. When you deal with Kelley Blue Book, I think they have like good condition, fair condition, poor condition. If you have a good vehicle, put it up there at the high Kelley Blue Book. Sell that bad boy, making sure you have a little bit of extra funds. On the other side of the equation, if you have 2 cars and one of them is iffy, then don't get rid of either of them, right? You need to have a contingency plan. You don't want to get rid of one good car, and then when your iffy car starts breaking down, now you have nothing. So even that requires a little strategy. Whether it's preparing for a new job or lowering costs or coming up with a plan to lose calories and lose some weight, I think walking is the answer to every single one of those problems. You see, when you're walking, it's not that you come up with these great ideas out of the blue. They've always been there. They're just not coming to your forefront of your mind. But for some reason, when we do walk, these thoughts and these ideas do come to the forefront of your mind, and you're able to think about them and grasp them. In other words, when you're not on a walk, what happens is usually when you get a problem, you'll just kind of stew over it. And a lot of times we find ourselves sticking our head in the sand and trying to avoid those problems. You haven't been laid off, but just the idea of being laid off is so stressful, you don't even want to think about it. But the reality is, it's going to be the most stressful if you wait until you are laid off. So don't do that to yourself. Have a plan. If you're healthy right now and you're not overweight at all, I think it's still a good idea to start walking, because then ultimately you already have a plan in effect, so that if you ever do start gaining weight, all you have to do is up your walk, lower your sugar intake, increase drinking water. I feel like if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail, right? But if you do have a plan, hopefully you never really have to enact that plan. But again, when it comes to walking, it is directly related to actions, right? You don't want to tell yourself, I'm going to start walking Monday. That is a failure sentence. Tell yourself, where are my shoes? I'm going to put them on now. And while the weather's nice outside, I'm going to go knock out a half-hour walk. And during that walk, I'm going to contemplate what Jesse's talking about. Is my job the type of job where I might get let go? Should I go ahead and pep up my resume? Should I maybe take some online courses so that I can increase my education level and increase my skills that I can put on that resume? Is now the time that I should go to other companies that I'm doing the exact same thing for? In other words, my job that I'm doing now, since my boss won't give me a raise, is now a time when maybe I should put my resume out there to see if someone is willing to pay me what I'm worth. I'm not a huge fan of quiet quitting. I'm not a huge fan of holding your job up for ransom, right? Pay me what I'm worth or I'm out of here. But I am a fan of at least knowing what you're worth, you know? So again, these are interesting things that people around the world are dealing with. And this year it's Bryce Young, right? But in the future, it's going to be other people that get drafted. The problem with Bryce is that he wasn't drafted like third or fourth round. He was drafted with the number one pick overall. He was drafted with a world full of pressure and stress laid upon his shoulders. The problem with sports is usually when you're drafted number one, you're usually going to a team that's just shitty. And a lot of times our jobs are like this too. You're considered so important at your job that you're not allowed to take a day off, that you're not allowed to have a bad day. If your job is the type that if it's all predicated on you being successful, otherwise the company goes out of business, get out of that job. You're a little too important. You need a job that whether you're there or not, it's going to keep going. Yeah, but Jesse, that makes me where I'm just a number. Guys, that's just the reality of the world. Some of us are just numbers, and some of our jobs are always going to make us feel like we're just numbers. But that doesn't mean that we have to be some plain old number and can't improve ourselves. Keep improving, keep looking forward, keep trying to add to your resume, and who knows, you might be able to find yourself in the best job that you've ever had. Sometimes when you just put your resume out there, you're not necessarily forcing the idea of, looking for another job. Sometimes those jobs or a recruiter will find you. And if you've been begging your boss for $3 or $4 more an hour, and he's more like, here's 50 cents, which, God, let's be honest, seems like every boss you ask for a raise, they always offer you 1/10 of what you're asking for, right? And that doesn't even cover, yearly inflation. Ugh, these things do stress me out just thinking about them. It's a bummer when you get laid off. It's a bummer when a job doesn't work. But again, the reason it sucks is because most of us wait to act until it's too late. Have you ever gotten let go from a job and then you try to find another one? And then you get hit with reality that, my God, it's going to take me 6 months to a year just to find a job. Well, if that's the case, get your resume out now So you might have some offers trickle in. So if you ever do, God forbid, lose your job, you've got someplace to go. And again, this all ties into walking, because when you're walking, your mind comes down to earth. When we're upset, we do rash things. When you walk, you walk for at least half an hour. So even if you have a rash idea, you can hopefully during that half hour come down to earth and say, hey, that idea is a little too much. I need to come down to reality. And also remember, sometimes in life we find ourselves in a potato famine like the Irish. Someone is going to potentially be there and have your back like the Choctaw Nation did. Are you going to do the right thing like the Irish did and come back and repay that? Or are you just going to forget about the people that help you? And then when they find themselves in need, are you just going to be a silent ear that, doesn't respond to their needs? On the other hand, when you give people something like the Choctaw Nation did, you need to do it in the right state of mind where you're not expecting anything back. Does that mean you shouldn't get repaid back? No, I think in the grand scheme of life, you should. But the reality is you should never do something expecting to get paid back. What makes this so special is that if you do the math, the Choctaw Nation helped with what would roughly be $5,000 today, just a very small token of what they were able to help with, right? Just a very small token of, hey, we wish you the best in Ireland. Well, look at what happened. Hundreds of years later, the Irish repaid that more than tenfold. Could you imagine helping somebody one day with maybe $5-10? And could you imagine them finding you 40 or 50 years later and they're a multimillionaire and all of a sudden you're down on your luck and all of a sudden they come and rescue you? God, that's a beautiful story. Is it one that's going to happen to you or me? Of course not. I've helped so many friends and people in my lives through the years, and I very rarely got any help back from them. But that's okay, because when I did those things, it kind of made me feel better anyway. I don't know if you guys agree or not, but when you help somebody, it makes you feel good. It's good for your soul. And when people don't help you and you still help others, that means you're actually winning. See, some people look at that and they say, that's losing. I'm tired of helping other people. They never help me. What you need to say is, hey, I like helping other people. It makes me feel better. And when other people don't help others, it just kind of shows what they've got a darkness in them. You don't want to be that type of person. Be the type of person that's willing to give. And when you see somebody struggling, but deep down they're trying to do things the right way, that's the type of person I like to help. I like to help people that are at least trying to help themselves. And that's why I'm so impressed with a lot of us venters. Instead of whining and crying about our problems, we're putting our shoes on and we're getting out there and doing something about it. I think there's something admirable about that. Never give up. Keep moving forward. Look to help others. You can do a lot with your walk. Your walk does come with superpowers, believe it or not. You're going to have an advantage going forward. But what you need to do is you need to make a choice. The choice that you need to make is that you're going to take advantage of the advantages that your walk gives you. If your mental health is getting better and you have friends out there that are constantly stressing and getting in arguments and fights, why aren't you telling them to get on a walk? Let people know what the walk has done for you and how it's changed your life. And if you start mentioning that to friends at work, they're going to start saying, hey, Carla, I'm free this weekend. You want to get together and we'll go for a walk? And I urge you, Carla, go meet with your friend. Go on a walk with them, because if you can get them walking and it ends up affecting their life and helping them live longer, holy moly, I think that's going to be a merit badge in your honor right there. Sean, keep getting your wife to walk. I hear that women, the leading cause of death among women, I heard this somewhere, I could be wrong, but I think it's heart disease now. Dealing with obesity issues. If you love walking, keep your wife walking. If anybody out there loves walking, try your darndest to see if you can get your spouse to walk. And now that our walk is over, keep in mind, the football game's not on for another hour. Why don't you keep walking? Do some extra credit. We'll see you tomorrow.